And I think that was my fifth or sixth suicide attempt. It was probably like, I think if I remember correctly, this was one of the worst ones, because I hadn't succeeded the last few times. This time I decided to make multiple cuts in different directions because I was like, I just wanted to work this time.
Mm.
And that was kind of like, that was a moment something big happened. And then I don't believe in angels up there, but I
Mhm.
believe angels in this world. And there was this family who were friends with my parents who also happened to have a surgeon brother who had just come back from Germany as I was being released from a mental hospital. And they took me directly from the hospital to these people's home. And this surgeon, like, just apparently they all had had a conversation, and he took me into a room and he talked to me and he examined me. And then he came out and he talked to my parents. He's like, oh, yeah, I've done this surgery and this is, and that kind of, I feel that family saved, my mom says it, I agree, that family saved our lives.
Mm.
Because I feel that my parents needed somebody that they knew, that they respected, and that they trusted to kind of guide them, because there was nobody else.
Mm.
There was no internet, there was no one who could tell them, who they could talk to about this to begin with, let alone someone that would actually know anything
Mhm.
to share. So those were the angels in our lives.
And can you, just so we know and maybe the audience knows, was it that your parents couldn't turn to anyone because it would have been so taboo to talk about in Iranian society at that
Mhm.
time? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's an old culture, and old cultures, you have your background and you have your back. There's this thing about older cultures. I don't know how it um, translates into how Persian culture is, but what other people think about you. We have this thing of like saving face, which all
Mhm.
old cultures
Mhm.
have. And this idea that people would think that my parents have done something wrong,
Mm.
which even to this day, a lot of conservative places, like if someone's child turns out gay, they're like, well, the parents did something, usually the mother, the mother
Yeah.
did something wrong. And in this culture, and again, keep in mind, this is 30 something years ago,
Right.
that how would that reflect on them at
Right.
their workplace, within the building that we were living, even family, even the
Yeah.
day that I was leaving Iran, my aunt, I cooked this meal. I was leaving Iran and I cooked a meal to take to my aunt's house to basically have that be like my mini goodbye party. I was the child. I was 18. I cooked this really fabulous meal, I have to say. It was this really fabulous meal.
What was
Good
the
amount of
dish?
saffron. It was, rice and potato tahdig, and I made a beef stew. It's like, because I love these people. I
Mm.
grew up with these
Mhm.
people. And kind of her parting words with me were, you're destroying your family.
Mm.
And I am grateful for the sassy soul that I've had, the you can go fuck yourself
Mhm.
voice in my head, that I'm like, I'm about to leave my home, my country, get on a plane, go somewhere I've never lived, in this whole new life that I have no idea how it's going to be. And my aunt that I've known my entire life, you, not only are you telling me, good luck or I wish you the best, but telling me, like, not even are you sure, but you're destroying your family.
Mm.
You're destroying your parents' lives. There's someone like you at my workplace that got married and had kids. I'm like, well, obviously not very much like me, because I cannot in the life of me imagine those things.
Uh,
And so that wasn't just fear, it was what we were receiving,
Mm.
yeah.
when it happened. And many years later, I had my moment of kind of telling my aunt what I thought, which was at my dad's funeral
Mm.
uh, almost 11 years ago. And she was kind of like giving out orders. And I basically looked at her and I say, you, you have no agency here. Nobody really gives two shits about what you think.
Mm.
I put it in colorful terms. I said, well, your husband has no idea what happened to me. Uh, whose ass did he think I crawled up?
Mm.
And if your husband doesn't know what happened to me, your sister's child, that's not because of me. It's because of you.
Yeah.
And I ended it with saying, all I can say to you is, what a waste of education on you.
Well,
Mm.
So this idea that educated people are necessarily more open-minded,
Mhm.
no,
No,
sometimes it's just a waste.
of course.
and Puya, will you tell us in those dark years where you were attempting suicide, was it, and the depression you were going through, was it because of not being in the right body, or was it the pressure you were feeling from society, or the bullies that were bullying you, or was it a
Yes,
combination?
and
Yes, and
now that I'm older, and there's very specific statistics about the suicide attempt rates uh, within the queer community, non-queer community. And then within that, the highest rate is trans people.
yeah,
And as I've gotten older and I've talked to a lot of people who are younger than me, who are just getting out of Iran, who are living wherever, and I've spoken to them, and I hear from parents because now I'm a parent generation, and I hear them, especially after the election, people were saying, when that child hears that rhetoric, you have to be so extremely strong not to absorb that. And when you keep hearing, you're sick,
Mm.
there's something wrong with you, you're ruining your family's
Mm.
life, you're never going to be happy, you're never going to mount to something. I remember when I was a teenager, people told me I wasn't going to live to see 20.
Mm.
Do you know how cruel that is to say that
Mm.
to a child?
wow,
Mm.
yeah,
So, well, when everybody around you says things like that to you, it doesn't take a whole lot to imagine one day you're like, well, I want all of these voices to just go
Mm.
quiet. When you inflict, and there were times that I inflicted pain on myself just because I needed something to balance the pain and turmoil that I was feeling inside.
emotional pain, like you need
Yeah,
physical pain to,
because you're hearing those voices. Most of us, we're not psychopaths. We hear the voices of the people who we love.
Mm.
We hear the voices of people who we think love us. And when that's all you hear every day at school, at
Mm.
family gatherings, when you're at family dinner, then when they're not there, you're still hearing those
yeah,
voices.
Mhm.
And if you don't have any voice to balance that, then that's the only voice that exists in your head.
Mhm.
Because even me, the, sassy fucker that I am, I wanted the voices to go quiet. Because at some point I looked at my future and there was no future.
Mm.
There was, I couldn't see, this thing that people do. I will grow up and get married and do this. And I'm like, there's nothing. Who? Who will love me? Everyone tells me I'm not lovable. My friend's mom, this is like my best friend's mom, who was a psychologist. The example she was giving me at 16, 17 is, when I lived in Italy, I knew people like you who worked with me at the bank, but do you know what they did? At night, they went in the park and they were prostitutes. This is what my friend's mom, somebody I've known for years, someone who
Wow,
I trust, someone who's a psychologist that my
wow,
parents have hired to
wow,
help me, that's what she's telling me.
yeah,
And I call that light conversion therapy, like, not intense.
yeah,
Like I wasn't in an institution. these people would come into my room and say these things to me. So at what point you're like, well, if there's no future and nobody's ever going to love me and I'm sick, well, then what do I have to live for?